All right, thank you very much. Welcome to another week of political analysis and conversation. And today I want to deal with two issues that have been attracting a lot of attention. Actually, it's actually one issue broken into two pieces. And this is the travels by the presidency. The media has been quite detailed with the number of trips that President Ruto has made. I think there are 39 now since he got into office. The reason one being the one he just, I think he still is, or he just recently went to Congo, Brazzaville. And of course, the deputy president has also made quite a number of trips, including the recent one, where he's in Germany. And of course, there's a major complaint, oh, they are traveling too much, they're out all the time. And it was enough pressure that the president actually responded to it, also in the course of last week. And he said two things. First thing, he said he has reduced travel by 11 billion shillings. And he has done this by pushing the three arms of government, executive, parliament or legislature, and judiciary, to reduce their travel by 50%. That it's going to be interesting to see that, by the way, because as a former member of parliament, I'm going to be interested in seeing how parliament is going to engage that particular directive. But that's his plan: get every arm of government to reduce travel by 50%. But then there's something a lot more fundamental that we need to be talking about. And he hinted about it when he said that he wants to make sure that every trip made brings something to the country. It has to be a trip that brings investors, it has to be a trip that brings investment, it has to be a trip that brings benefits to Kenya. And of course, he talked about if you want to go and buy dresses for your significant other, or you just want to go and joyride ujipange, you go and do that on your own coin. And this is a question, and let me just make it as fundamental as possible. Assuming you have limited resources and you need to go to work, you have a choice. You can stay at home and save the transport money and use it to buy food, or you can use your transport money and actually go out to town and hustle. If you go to town, you'll have spent money to go to town. And there's no guarantee that when you go to town, you're going to get money to hustle. You're going to get anything back. But you will have gone out to seek for investment. You're going out to look for business or employment or work. You could have played it safe and stayed at home, and you'd have had your 100 bob or 200 bob, which is what you spent for transport. And you could have eaten, bought food, and slept. The problem is that if you spend your transport today and stay at home, once it is finished, it is finished. You can't even leave the house. While if you spend your transport money to actually go out and hustle, there's a very high likelihood that you will get enough money to come back home, to get something to eat, and transport for tomorrow. The trips that the president and the deputy president are making, as far as I'm concerned, need to be the kind of trips that you're going out to hustle. And that is the impression I get. When I hear about where the president has gone, when I hear about where the deputy president has gone, I get the vibe that these guys are going out there to hustle. Of course, we're looking for grants. We're looking for investments. We're looking for investors. We're looking for diplomatic influence. We're looking for public-private partnerships. We're looking at how to negotiate the loans that have been used by previous administrations to build the kind of infrastructure developments that we are proud of today. That's what I believe is happening, and that's what should be happening. Maybe the problem we're having is that we are not being told enough. And I guess this is a challenge to the communications teams around the presidency to make sure that they're able to articulate the benefits of every trip. Because once you can weigh the benefits of the trip and the cost of the trip, because what we were hit with over the last week was a big breakdown of the amounts of money that have been spent to travel. Nobody told us how much those travels have brought to the country. And this is a challenge to the communications teams around the presidency. Please let us now understand. Let's see the other side of the travel. Let's see how much money has each and every one of these 39 trips made by the president and all the trips made by the deputy president, what have they brought to the country? Tangible numbers. I suspect this narrative will change. There's also been a challenge to the president to stop traveling around the country. This one, unequivocally, I would tell you, please do not listen to anybody telling you that. We made that mistake with Uhuru Kenyatta. We locked him up in State House. He lost contact with the grassroots. He completely lost contact with Mashinani, and he lost the political edge that he had. My advice to President Ruto, keep going to Mashinani. Every weekend, go for church. Stop at the roadside. Listen to people, speak to them. As a politician, and Ruto is a smart politician, you'll be able to gauge the public vibe, the public spirit, the public attitude, and you'll be able to help you guide your politics. Because we have to learn, as a country that is so politically aware, our leadership has to learn how to balance politics and execution of work. I would urge the president and the deputy president, please do not stop going around the country. If you stop going around the country, it's going to hurt you politically. And I say this from experience, having watched a president I worked with very closely lose touch with the ground because he stopped going to Mashinani. Finally, coffee. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua should be back in a couple of days, and he's coming with good news. He has a deal with Java from Belgium to be buying coffee directly from the farmers. I hear there's 10,000 kilos, I think, or something. The first, or is it 700 tons that is going to be bought directly from farmers, and they're focusing on women and less advantaged members of our population to support that. But then another story that we seem to have missed is that the Nairobi Coffee Exchange is back. You know, there was this story that big brokers and the people we call cartels had refused to trade in coffee, and there seemed to be a push and pull between the big traders in coffee and government, and it was a case of who is going to blink first. And let me tell you, the reforms that are being implemented now by the President Ruto government were actually passed when I was in Parliament in 2019. Unfortunately, after we passed those reforms, we were not able to implement them, because every time government tried to implement them, the coffee traders would threaten to pull out of the market. And the problem used to be that when they threatened to do that, there would be pressure from farmers on government, and the reforms kept being kicked forward, to a point where it was nearly expected that they were never going to get implemented. This particular government got into office, and they called the bluff of the coffee traders and the big internationals. And last week, the coffee traders and the big internationals blinked first. We can actually say government tamed the coffee commodity traders. Now the commodity traders are back trading, they're back buying coffee. In fact, they're buying more coffee than usual, which is a good thing for the farmer. I think for me, I don't think anybody in the business of coffee should be disadvantaged. But I don't think anybody in the business of coffee should have an advantage over the farmer. The person who should have the biggest advantage, the biggest profit in this business should be the farmer. And that has been the problem. The internationals, the brokers in the middle, have been making so much more money than the farmer has been making. These reforms are supposed to change that back. And now that they seem to be getting traction, I would like to urge the country, I would like to urge every industry to align themselves, and let's see whether our farmers can go back to where coffee used to be at 35%, used to be to take 35% of the foreign exchange of this country 50 years ago. Today it's at 4%. Despite the fact that coffee is one of the most traded commodities after oil and gold in the world. When you have coffee in your farm, you're supposed to be like a sheikh in the Middle East with oil, you know, or some guy in Congo with diamonds and gold. Here, that's not what the case has been, but it's been a recent development. If we can take ourselves back to where coffee is, we'll all go back to the farm and plant coffee. And this is going to be good for us. So I want to say kudos to Rigathi Gachagua and President Ruto for staying the course on the issue of the coffee reforms. I think there's good things ahead for farmers. And as I said, please don't stop traveling. Go out there, get stuff for us. Go around the country, talk to Kenyans, tell them what is going on, because you're the first campaigner for yourself and you're Kenya's top diplomat. That's what I would like to say. We are shooting as always at Ruare Central. We wish you a terrific week. We're willing and happy to accommodate you whenever you're in Nyeri for good food, good conference facilities and good accommodation. Karibu sana when you can. God bless you. God bless Kenya.